So welcome back to the Bookwanderers Club. This is the first edition of the kind of new, not really a new look, but it's not live. So I'm very excited that the first kind of test run of the not live Bookwanderers Club is with husband and wife, writing duo supreme, and full disclosure, two of my very good friends, Katie and Kevin Tsang. Katie writes YA as Catherine Webber, but Katie and Kevin together write the Sam Wu books, and we are going to talk about Dragon Mountain, which is their brand new, very shiny co-writing project. So we're going to talk about dragons and writing together and all of that, and we're going to follow the kind of usual Bookwanderers Club format. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Katie and Kev, who are going to kind of give us a very quick introduction to the book, and they're going to give us a reading straight off the back so that you can get a bit of a flavour of the book, because it is so new that I assume most people won't have read it yet. So over to you guys.
Yay!
Yeah,
thank you.
Awesome intro.
And thank you for having us. Also, I'm excited. I didn't realize you have your finished copy already. Yay! They're so beautiful and so shiny. And we're very excited to be here on Bookwanderers Club. So Dragon Mountain is about 4 friends who meet at a summer camp in the middle of nowhere in China. And behind their camp, in this huge mountain, they discover 4 warrior dragons who are trapped inside, and the dragons need their help. And then a big, exciting adventure ensues. It's good versus evil. It's about loyalty and friendship, and it's just epic and exciting.
Tell them about the dragons or later, or what do you think?
I think let's do the reading, and then you can tell more details about dragons.
Right, let's jump into a reading. So I'm going to read from chapter 1.
Good place to start.
A good place to start, I think, yeah. Chapter 1, The Mountain. Mountains always have secrets, and this one had more than most. Tall and majestic, with jagged peaks that punctured the sky, it appeared unknowable and immovable. And yet, if you were to watch it, and not just glance at it, really watch it, it would sometimes appear to be breathing. If you stared long enough, you'd start to think that it was a different mountain altogether. One person had been watching this mountain for a very, very long time, and he had decided it was time for the mountain to show him its secrets. Deep within the mountain, a great creature stirred in its sleep. Its eyes rolled back in its head, and its wings jerked wide open. It suddenly sat straight up, trying to remember what it had seen in the nightmare. Darkness. All it saw was darkness and desolation. The creature shuddered and closed its eyes, trying to go back to sleep. It had been waiting for something, for someone, for a long time. It could wait longer.
Dun, dun, dun. And we have these really pretty little chapter headings. There's dragons at the top. I tend to read along when he does a reading, because otherwise I'm just like staring awkwardly at him or staring awkwardly at him.
I'm going to do the same later.
I enjoy that. It's such a great opening. It's a very good first line. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
So I have asked for questions online in advance of this, and also for everyone watching, do keep an eye out on the hashtag Bookwanderers Club, because when I am doing these interviews going forward, I'm going to be asking questions, so keep an eye out. So when I'm talking to your favorite authors, you can ask questions in advance. Now we're not doing it live. So I'm going to incorporate a question from Sophie into this. So I just wanted to hear about how the idea kind of came about, and whether you can kind of remember right at the start, like kind of who was coming up with which ideas. And Sophie would like to know what made you choose to write about dragons, which is kind of part of the whole question.
Thank you. Hi, Sophie. Good question. And good question, Anna, as well.
I think the original seed of the idea came from Katie in a dream.
Not in a dream exactly, but it was one of those like waking up in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh, Kevin and I should write about dragons. And I immediately woke up Kevin and was like, I think we should write a book about kids finding dragons in China.
And I was like, yes, please.
That was all we had. And then I emailed our agent, who's also Anna's agent, and said, I want me and Kevin to write a book about dragons. However, at the time, we were working on Sam Wu, our series for younger readers, and I was still working on my YA. And so Claire said, sounds fun, put that on a back burner. And so we did. And then about a year later, and we would reference it sometimes, she was like, great, have you started working on that book yet? And we had not. So we started working on it properly. And I think that's kind of when it.
Yeah,
really
I mean, honestly, the actual seed of the idea was some kids discover real dragons in a mountain. And that's kind of like all we had at the very start.
Yeah, we knew we wanted to be based in China, and we wanted it to start in modern time. We felt like, obviously there's so many amazing books about dragons. How to Train Your Dragon, Aragon, loads of good stuff. but I hadn't seen as much stuff like set now, and I hadn't seen as much with kind of a blend of Eastern and Western dragons. And Kevin's family is originally from Hong Kong. I've lived in Hong Kong and spent a lot of time in China as well. So we knew there was a lot of kind of mythology there that we wanted to play with.
And we knew we wanted, regular kids. Like, it could be anyone reading the book and like they could discover dragons. And to answer Sophie's question, I mean, we love dragons. So
yeah, and it's
simple as that.
And we wanted to do our own take on them. Yeah. And it was really important for us to have like 4 distinctive ones. So Kevin will show them in more detail, but you can see them on our excellent cover. They all look quite different, and we wanted to take different elements of kind of like what was traditionally seen as a Western or European dragon and what was seen as more traditionally as Asian dragon, and kind of bring it together different elements. So that was, I think, one of the most fun parts, with coming up with the different kind of the attributes of the dragons, what they looked like, what their personalities were like. And then once we knew that we wanted to be an ensemble cast too, thinking of the 4 different kids, we wanted it to have a real global feel. So it's a camp based in China, summer camp based in China, but it's got kids from all over the world going to it.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you actually if you could kind of give us a kind of top level kind of intro to the kids at the heart of it, kind of what their names are, and kind of the sort of elevator pitch for each of the 4 kids, because they are really like they're the heart of the book, really, aren't they? Yeah,
of course. So I suppose the book's kind of told from Billy Chan's perspective. So he's from California, a surfer. He loves to surf, and his parents just sent him to this camp in China to essentially improve his Mandarin and learn.
Yeah, so he's dual heritage, so he's mixed race with a white mom, Chinese dad, some influence there. But so that's part of the reason why he's sent to China to improve his Mandarin and kind of get in touch more with his Chinese heritage.
And actually, like, so my parents made me go to Mandarin school when I was growing. I took 9 years of Chinese school, and Katie actually went abroad. Maybe she'll
I did when I was in high school. It's a little bit older than the kids in the books. I did a language and culture summer camp in Taiwan and in China. It was a little bit different in the setup here. Here they're at a proper camp. I was living with a host family, but we did spend a lot of time in mainland China afterwards. And a lot of the things that we did definitely influenced Dragon Mountain. Wow, we're definitely not doing the elevator pitch. We're like getting off tangents. But back to Billy. Like Kevin was saying, he's a surfer, and he's just kind of like what we hope, like a kind of a character that a lot of kids can identify with.
And so there you meet 3 kids. There's Liu Lingfei, who is from China and is the counselor's granddaughter, and she's like super kind-hearted. I really like Liu Lingfei. And then there's Dylan O'Donnell from Ireland, who's I'm trying to figure out if you're.
No, I'm letting you talk about that.
Yeah, so Dylan's he's a little sarcastic. He's probably the most anxious of the group. And then the last one is Charlotte, who is a Southern belle from Georgia, and she's super fiery. She knows jujitsu, loves dresses, loves pink, but also very, very fierce and very confident.
Yeah, we wanted to bring in lots of different like the world, lots of different kinds of people, but especially for Charlotte, it was important to me to have a character who really likes like more things like traditionally feminine things like skirts and clothes, but also could kick your butt in jujitsu. And then Liu Lingfei, so that's the Chinese style of where you put the last name first. So her name is Lingfei, and she, like Kevin said, is the one who lives in China, and so she has a lot more knowledge about kind of the camp and the surroundings.
Awesome. I don't want to do any spoilers just because this is right in publication week, but I think, well, I don't know. I hope it's okay. I hope to say that the kids bond with the dragons.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And we won't necessarily say who bonds with who. We won't give away that bit, because that's my favorite scene in the book, where they bond with the dragons. But because I wanted to ask, so Aisha Bushby, author of Moonchild, which has just come out, she asked what your dragons would be like if you kind of had a dragon bond, and what power you think you would get if you bonded with a dragon.
So kind of like go off of that and just clarify for anyone watching who's going to read the book. So the kids do, it's not too much spoiler to say, they do bond with the dragons, and something that happens when you bond with a dragon, if you also have a special pearl, which you'll see in the book, you are granted this kind of power, and it's something that is innate inside you, but it's like amplified. So yeah, we won't say what any of the characters' powers are. We'll have to think about what ours would be.
I haven't thought about what my power would be amplified. Yeah.
I've thought a lot about what our dragons would be like. I think that one of my dragons, or my dragon that I would really love, would be a combination probably of Spark, who looks like this, and Shing, who looks like this. And Spark is a kind of a more mysterious dragon. She's got a really interesting, distinctive, unique power. She's on the quieter side, but whereas Shing is really sarcastic and sassy. And while I am not especially sarcastic and sassy, I enjoy sassy people, like my and Anna's mutual friend, Catherine Doyle. But I think I would definitely want a dragon who, and I guess all dragons feel like this, you're bond to them, and you felt like they were really like completely on your side. I think that's one of the things that's so appealing to us about writing about dragon bonds, is the idea of having this great, big, mythical, powerful beast just like on your side no matter what. I think that's really appealing.
Yeah. I'll let you think about your power. So I think in terms of my dragon, mine would probably look just like Shing. I think my dragon would change colors. So like maybe silver, but sometimes black, sometimes purple. A multicolored dragon, yeah. And it'd have, but instead of like, so Shing has like some small wings, but like my dragon, like huge, like big wings that, it flapped a lot.
I like that.
Yeah. I like that. So a color changing dragon with giant wings.
Yeah.
I feel like that also says, I know I've had a bit of a like behind the scenes with this book, and I do know some of the bits which bits Katie came up with and which bits Kev came up with. And I feel like how you just described your dragons is a good indication of which bits Kevin came up with in terms of the kind of level of like wild imagination.
I want to know, Anna, what would your dragon be like?
Oh, that's not fair. You're not allowed to turn it around. I haven't thought. I don't feel like it would be. I feel like it wouldn't be necessarily. I don't know that any of the dragons in the book I felt like would be a combo of those. Although there's a dragon called Buttons who I adore. But I don't know that would be I feel like, I don't know. Do you know, this is actually probably a question which your friends you should answer this about yourself, about each other, or you probably are better at answering it about me, Katie, and I'd be better at answering it about you.
I don't even think, and I think what I hope for readers, I hope they think I would like them to know which of our dragons is their favorite, but then I also want them to think like, again, what dragon would be theirs outside of our four. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you would have a dragon, I know you like
I feel like a dragon would love reading.
Yeah, you'd have a dragon that loves reading and hoards books, and I think also like would be a lot like be very pretty with like pretty
lots of style.
Yeah, I imagine your dragon with like pretty eyelashes. Be great. Yeah, I don't know what the specific like kind of power would be, but I think I'll have to think about maybe like invisibility, and you could like go on adventures, like pop into secret cool places.
I know what. You know what? I feel like your power. So you do my power. So
we're doing each other's powers.
Yeah. Oh. So I feel like your power would be you could just like think things into existence. Like you
love that.
Honestly, I feel like she has that power already. So like it's only natural that would be your superpower.
I like that. It's kind of books are thinking things into existence. So yeah. I enjoy that. I really like that. Oh, now
that's a really good one. Katie does have this like unerring ability to just like focus on something she really wants to happen, and then more often than not it does happen, and it's she's a good person to have as a friend, because sometimes that she will target you as well, and she just like brings things into existence. It's amazing.
I manifested mine and Anna's friendship. We speak about this often, but Anna and I met online years ago as book lovers, and I was like, she's so cool, I want to be her friend. And I was living in Hong Kong, and Anna was living in Birmingham, and now here we are, both living in London, and the best of friends. So there you go. Maybe that's all right. So that would be my power. Kevin, yours would be, I think you'd have a power kind of, well, I don't want to say anything too spoiler, but kind of similar to one of our main characters who's got a lot of like agility and like jumping, like speed. I feel like I'm imagining Kevin just kind of basically being like a jumping frog.
I like this. You're like basically putting things into existence, and I'm like basically jumping from
leaping from thing to thing. So like not quite flying, but also just like real like agility. And I think you would just you'd also be able to like do really quick problem solving. So like because Kevin is an excellent problem solver, but like your like brain would be like super sped up. So it'd be like, here is
Oh, I like
like
that.
a math problem. Not that we need math problems day to day life, but like, or like you'd like crack into a safe, like you would be able to like figure it out really quickly, or like you'd like rejig some sort of electrical thing. So I think yours would be problem solving and also really fast jumping. I mostly just like the image of Kevin like crouching down as like the typewriter and jumping up really fast.
So maybe this is because like, so we have like a 1-year-old and she loves to hop. And so I do a lot of hopping.
We do a lot of hopping. So I'm excited everyone to see the powers that the kids get. Our kind of high level pitch for Dragon Mountain is it's like Power Rangers with dragons. So if you like either of those things, hopefully you'll love the book.
That's a good pitch and an accurate pitch, I think. I was going to ask you about kind of creating the dragon realm, but I am aware that we are probably running out of time a little bit, and I want to make sure we have time for you to do another reading. But I did want to ask you, so Adam's question was that if they made a Dragon Mountain theme park ride, what would you want it to be?
Love that question.
Yes, we actually literally said to our agent really early on, we were like, so we want there, to be a theme park, and this is before we'd sold the book, and she was like, I'm glad you're ambitious. So I would definitely want, you would choose one of the 4 dragons to sit on, so you'd like be waiting in line.
Be like a roller coaster.
Yeah, it'd be a roller coaster for sure, like a really exciting roller coaster. And if you were riding on Spark, you would sit back behind her wings, so like you would sit right there. And then if you were riding on Buttons are kind of chubby dragon, you would sit in a little pocket in his belly,
like a kangaroo.
Yeah, you sit in his belly like a kangaroo, which is not how our character rides him when he flies, but I would like that for the ride. And then if you had Tank, who's huge, Tank is gigantic, you would sit on Tank's head in the roller coaster. And then Xing, you would also sit on Xing's back, and you'd go upside down, and there would definitely be like flames at some point.
Yeah, and it'd be like 3 different realms on the ride.
Yeah, there'd be a water element of it, and like a lightning cool element, really dark at one point. It'd be basically the best roller coaster ride ever. So,
that does sound excellent, and I love that you've thought about it so much. Right, I think now is a good point to do our second reading. So if you want to sort of give us a little intro to which bit you're going to read for us.
So this is from chapter 4, when Billy and the others have already arrived at camp, and it's the summer camp, and it's the very first night. Billy's feeling a little anxious because he's just met all these new people. He's on the other side of the world from his family and friends. The summer camp is run by a old man named Lao Jing, which are in Chinese, but roughly translates as Old Gold. So that's what the kids call him. So, and it's called Sky Full of Stars. That night, Old Gold gathered everyone around the fire pit. Overhead, the stars came out. First one, then another, then so many all at once that Billy lost count. He'd never seen so many stars in his whole life. Old Gold pointed above them. Do you all see that bright star there? The one right above us? That's the dragon's heart. I've never heard of that one, said Dylan with a slight frown. Is it like the North Star? I'm not going to try to do an Irish accent for Dylan, but pretend he's got an Irish accent. Old Gold smiled. Not exactly. Everyone knows the North Star. But this star is special to our mountain. We are in the perfect place to see it. I'm sure that other men have seen it, and other women, Charlotte interrupted. Old Gold smiled. Yes, Charlotte, I'm sure others have seen it, but I'm sure they have different names for it. This is a name that has been passed down in my family for generations. We believe that star is called the Dragon's Heart because of a great battle that happened right here on this very mountain many years ago. Who was battling? Asked Billy, his interest bubbling out of him as he looked away from the sky and towards Old Gold through the flickering orange flames. It was a battle between legends, a battle between dragons, said Old Gold, a bit breathless with excitement. In the shifting shadows of the firelight, Billy thought Old Gold looked like an ancient sorcerer about to cast a spell. And Billy found himself leaning forward, eager to hear more about the battle, about the dragons. I thought it was a real battle, someone said, sounding a little disappointed. And it was, said Old Gold, affronted. Why do you think this mountain is called Dragon Mountain? This used to be where dragons roamed. Only the truly worthy could walk beside them. Legend says that sometimes the dragons bestowed their powers on the humans that they bonded with. What kind of powers? Asked Billy. He was curious despite himself. It had been years since he believed in things like dragons or any kind of magic at all. But sometimes when he was surfing, he'd imagine he was riding not a wave, but a mythical beast. And he had to admit, sitting around a roaring fire in the shadow of the towering mountain with stars shooting overhead and a yearning for adventure fluttering in his heart, this felt like a place where dragons might have really existed. Old Gold's eyes widened. Too many powers to name. Dragons are like sorcerers. They have all kinds of magic. Have to see what happens. Obviously the kids do meet some dragons. They haven't met them yet.
Right, now, there was predictably quite a few questions about how you write together as a couple. Louise O'Neill asked, does Katie take the lead on writing because she has more experience, or is it 50-50?
I'll let you answer that.
It's interesting, actually. So Dragon Mountain, we wrote a bit different than what we do with the Sam Wu book. So we've written 6 Sam Wu books together, and we always, sit in front of, we basically project our laptop onto the TV. We both sit in front of our laptops, and then basically Katie will write for a time, and then we'll switch, and then I'll write, but we're always kind of both focused on what's happening on the page. So kind of one's driving on the keyboard and one's navigating, so to speak. But with Dragon Mountain, actually, we kind of split it up a bit more. So we definitely wrote a lot of it together.
Especially in the beginning, because we wanted to make sure we had a cohesive voice. What I will say is I am definitely bossier than Kevin, but Kevin is also more stubborn than I am. So it's an interesting mix where I'll be like, I'll be like, oh, I want to do these things. No. And Kevin will be like, well, I want to do this. And then he just is an immovable force. And I'm still my bossy self. So that's interesting. And I will say at the beginning, when we first started writing, so like I said, we have 6 Sam Wus out, which is crazy. And now Dragon Mountain. But at the very beginning, I definitely did, I think, probably take a little bit more of a lead, just because I did have that experience and things. And it was nice because I could explain to Kevin things like how copy editing worked and like what structural edits were, what line edits were. But now, Kevin has written, so Dragon Mountain will be my 9th book coming out, including my YA, and it's Kevin's 7th. So he's like, not that far behind me now.
It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. You're overtaking me.
So I think now, and I think it's been really nice seeing Kevin grow, his confidence grow as a writer throughout all the process.
And with Dragon Mountain especially, I had some ideas that were just really well formed in my head. And so I had to write those scenes because it didn't work me telling Katie
this is how I envision it.
Yeah.
And we always make sure we have a really, really clear outline. This might be spilling a little bit into what someone else might be asking more about, the actual logistics, but we spend a lot of time outlining. We usually have whiteboard paper, and I've seen it at our house. We'll put whiteboard paper all over the walls with our outline, with questions we want to be thinking of. So maybe if there's a plot point we can't figure out, we'll literally have it in the kitchen. So when you walk in, you're like, oh yeah, just jog my memory about that. And then so when we actually sit down and start writing, we have a very clear outline, with chapter head, and everything. And then we just, with Dragon Mountain, we really tried to do the bits that we both think that we are better at. So Kevin's really good at much more of the exciting battle epic scenes, and also way better at world building than I am. So the entire Dragon Realm, that came pretty much all from Kevin. I was like, there's dragons there. What else do we need? Writing contemporary YA did not really prepare me for epic world building, but Kevin's great at that. And I really love kind of doing the setup between the characters and when they first got to know each other. So we just, take turns going back and forth, and then we each will do an edit individually to make sure that neither of us have missed anything.
I like to think that we balance each other out pretty good.
Yes. And we also have a rule, which we do not apply to the rest of our marriage. We start to argue, we put a 5-minute timer on, and we have a timeout. So we don't fight when we're writing. And we won't delete anything either. If Kevin writes something or if I write something that the other one doesn't like, we will cut it and drop it into another document that we call our sandbox. So it's not like we're deleting anyone's hard work.
Which actually, because the next question, Gav Hetherington had asked similar question. He said, who wears the literary trousers in the writing relationship, which we've kind of talked about, but he did say, what do you do if the other one has an idea you're not keen on? How do you work it out? So I mean, you've talked about the sandbox. Do you have any other sort of tactics for like if you've got the bossiness and the stubbornness crashing up against each other, what do you do?
It's hard too. We come into everyone being like, we're gonna, like, of course we're not gonna argue, but then, you know, when you're writing something you care about it so passionately, maybe I'll have a vision in my head and Kevin will have a vision in his head.
And it takes time to actually get that vision out and like communicate it to the other person. And so like a lot of times our frustration just like trying to, you know, get the other person to see like what we see.
Yeah, you're like, no, but I promise this way it would be really cool. And what we found more than anything is it's not even like, it's rare that we completely disagree. What we'll end up doing, and I think it makes for a stronger book and stronger scenes, is we build on top of each other. So like Kevin would be like, oh, go ahead.
I will say like what happens like when we're working through and brainstorming is I tend to like basically throw all of the it's almost like I can't stop speaking.
It's just like idea word vomit. And
I wouldn't call it that.
No, I would. And I'm like and I'm like, okay, so now you want there to be a meteor and also an elephant comes in out of nowhere, and I'm trying to figure out how we can make this all work. And Kevin's like, these are all just ideas. I'm like, well, don't say it unless you really want to do it, because I'm gonna try to figure it out. Whereas by the time I say something, I'm like, this is what I really want.
Yeah.
Before figuring it, I will say Kevin's imagination is much more wild than mine, which is great for writing this. With Sam Wu, sometimes I'd have to scale Kevin back. Like he'd be like, and then Sam, like in Sam Wu's Not Afraid of the Dark, they go to a cave, and we were drafting. Kevin was like, and then they fall down and they get stuck. And I was like, no, that's too scary for Sam Wu. With Dragon Mountain, I was like, yeah, go nuts.
Yeah. There are some quite scary. There's some quite like scary, tense bits in Dragon Mountain.
It was even scarier. We just finished book 2, so even scarier.
I will say though, like, so we always come to whatever comes out, I feel is always better than what came, like, you know, in terms of the ideas we came up with to start. So I do think, like, yeah, like I said earlier, we do balance each other out, I think.
I will admit to it's funny getting edited because we'll spend so much time like negotiating with each other and like trying to come up with the best thing that combines both of our ideas. And you have an editor coming in with their idea, and you're like, what? But we already spent so much time figuring this out.
Right.
We love our editor. Our editors, Lucy Rogers and Rachel Denwood at SNS, and they're brilliant, and they always make the book better. So it's been a really positive editing experience.
You've already answered this, but I just want to make sure they get a shout out, because I know that it's a child reader. So I just wanted to say hi to Lo on Twitter. So Celia and Lo had asked about the difference between the processes between writing Sam Wu and this, which we've already kind of talked about, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that I'd seen your question and it was on my list. But hopefully you're happy with the answer.
The only other thing I'd say is Dragon Mountain was much more daunting than Sam Wu, because like, we hadn't written a book so long before.
Yeah,
right.
And Sam doesn't have like epic world building, and we love writing Sam Wu, but it's very voice driven, and we know, especially by the time we were later on in the series, we were very familiar with Sam and the structure of the book. So Dragon Mountain felt a much bigger endeavor for us.
Yeah. Great question.
And partly because I know that Sam Wu is a series, but you know, it's a bit more kind of distinct, whereas this is obviously, it's a trilogy, which is very much like a trilogy rather than kind of.
I was so stressed out about that. We were writing a book, and I was like, we have to continue writing books about this. So
yeah.
Like, I felt a little more pressure with book 1 and like making sure everything we wanted in book 1. Because we might reference things in book 1 and book 2, book 3, we wanted to make sure that like it was all there.
It was, because you can't go back and add something in. And I know you know a lot about this as well with your trilogy. Sometimes you'll put something in first book, and then as you're working on a second book, you're like, oh, that's so handy. Excellent.
Yes, for sure. What can you tell us about future books in the series?
I think we can tell you the title, because this will go live the week of publication, and the title and the cover is on the back of the first book. So
yes.
Book 2 is called Dragon Legend. And can't say a whole lot without too much spoilers. We will say book 1 ends on a pretty massive cliffhanger.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but you don't have to wait too long. The second book comes out in just 6 months, in March. But it's exciting because the kids, book 1, I think, is kind of the discovery of the mountain and the dragons. And book 2, the stakes are much higher. But the kids are also more confident, and their powers have really grown. And so that was really fun, kind of ramping, just everything is ramped up.
Yeah. And you do get, I know there's a cover, but in the back of the first book, there is a little cheeky sneak peek of book 2 as well. So that'll help with the cliffhanger a little bit. I will warn you, I ended pages 2 on a big cliffhanger, and I get constant complaints about it, so be prepared.
That's buy the book. You've got to buy the book.
Right, okay, now we are nearly out of time. I wanted to finish off, as it is the Bookwanderers Club, and as Sophie on Instagram asked me to, she wants me to ask the book wandering question. So if you were book wanderers, if you could travel inside of books, I want to know which bit of your book you would go into. So if you could travel inside of Dragon Mountain, which, and you obviously can't be too spoilery, but which scene or chapter would you travel inside of?
There's actually a bit in Dragon Legend that's not in Dragon Mountain, but in Dragon Legend, there's this thing called the Forgotten Sea, and it's a sea that's really warm and it smells like lemons, and you can only go to it if you if someone tells you about it or if you remember it. And there's a scene, it's one of the kind of less dangerous scenes in the books where the kids are, you know, having a moment to kind of swim in the sea and their dragons are there flying around with them. I would love to be in that scene, like with my dragon, like it's swimming in this warm sea, knowing like that my dragons were there to protect me with my friends. So I would like that bit, I think. And I don't think that's too much of a spoiler.
No, I don't think so. I think for me, it's probably similar to your favorite scene, Anna, just in terms of like being there, seeing the dragons for the first time and actually bonding with one of the dragons.
Oh yeah, I would want that too. Yeah, that moment, I think that moment, and Kevin and I worked so hard on that scene, like, so that's why I appreciate you saying that, because, you know, seeing a dragon for the first time and hearing them speak as well would be such an amazing, inspiring experience, trying to get that on the page. So yeah, I think I would want to have that as well, but I'd also be very scared.
I'd want to be with you, I think.
Right, I think that's probably all the dragony questions we've got time for. I'm going to finish, as we were doing when we were doing Bookwanderers Club Live, with a kind of writing activity prompt. So if you've been watching this and you've been inspired hearing about the way that Katie and Kevin write together and about creating the dragon realm, I've asked Katie and Kevin to come up with a kind of writing prompt brief idea so that you can write something of your own. So over to you guys.
I was actually just thinking, we had one, Kevin, I want you to kind of explain about creating your own dragon, but actually, can we do write together as kind of a two-part one, you know, definitely to do with what we're going to suggest, try doing it on your own, but also maybe try writing something with a friend or a parent, or, sometimes co-writing can be a really great way if you're stuck writing, and you can do it, maybe one of you writes a chapter and another one of you writes another one from different perspectives, or not even a whole chapter, just a paragraph. And this doesn't have to necessarily be with what Kevin and I are going to suggest for our dragon-related writing activity, but, you know, I would encourage giving a go of co-writing. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I would think actually there's no right or wrong way to do co-writing. Well, there's probably some wrong ways to do co-writing. There are a lot of right ways to do it.
And then do you want to explain our?
Yeah, I think in terms of the brief, it's pretty straightforward. It's just if you were to create your own dragon that you would want to bond with, what would it be like? What powers would it have? What would it like to eat? What would it look like?
What would you name it? Dragon names are a very important part of the book. And we want all the details about, like, you know, the physical attributes, but also what their personality would be like. Let us know. We would love to know what your dragon would be like.
And if you do that, in the description box, I'm going to leave all the information about where you can find Katie and Kevin, where you can find more information about the book, all of that, where you can find me online. So if you do write something about your own dragon, be sure to share.
You need another draw too.
Yes, amazing. Be sure to share it online with us. We would love to see it. But also, as I always say, there is no obligation to share it, because writing should be first and foremost for you. And if you want to just do it by yourself and not show anybody else, that is also totally cool. Right, so we're going to wrap up, as we usually do, with a little bookshop shout out, which kind of started at the start because obviously bookshops were having a tough time with the lockdown, and even though they're kind of open up now, I just think there's never a bad time to kind of give a shout out to a favorite bookshop.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have to shout out Queen's Park Books, our local. We also are big fans of Chicken and Frog, and they're doing online buy as well. I'd say Tales on Moon Lane. Love Tales on Moon Lane. Storytellers Inc., which is up north, you can order online. And then, so there's some indies we love. And also shout out for Waterstones Piccadilly, because I love Waterstones Piccadilly. And Waterstones are doing a special edition sprayed edges. So special. We don't even have it yet. But the book are sprayed like dragon scales. So you can get that from your local Waterstones. But special shout out to Piccadilly.
Yeah. And I will leave a link to the special edition underneath as well as links to all of the bookshops that you guys have mentioned.
Sorry, like with you, we're like, here's 5.
It happened basically every time I asked someone to do it, but that's because, you know, that's because of so many good bookshops, and we're lucky, especially in London and kind of London, to have a lot of choices for good bookshops. Right, that's the end. So thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you, Anna. This was so fun.
As I say, I'll leave all the information about the books and Katie and Kevin down below, so you can get in touch with them. You can find out where to get the book from. The book actually comes out tomorrow from when this video is being put up. So be sure to get a copy. It's so much fun. I have become gently obsessed with the idea of dragon bonds, and again, we didn't even talk about this, but you alluded to it with the Power Ranger comment. There is, like, again, don't want to do spoilers, but there's like kind of a Power Ranger moment, perhaps.
Yes.
I enjoyed that a lot. So right, so I am hoping to do more of these kind of not live Bookwanderers Clubs. They'll probably be a bit more ad hoc, but I would love to know if you have authors that you would love for me to talk to. So please do leave a comment if you have a favourite author. And be sure to check out, there are 25 old Bookwanderers Club visits videos from during lockdown. So to be sure to check all of those out, but do put your kind of requests for who you'd like me to talk to in the comments. And that is all we've got time for. So thank you so much for watching, and huge thank you to Katie and Kevin. Authors of Dragon Mountain. Woo!
Thank you, Anna. Thanks everyone. Enjoy.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.